This week on Real Talk with Denver7 and CPR News, Colorado is known for its outdoor recreation, but for some, exploring isn't as easy as it should be.
It's already hard enough to get to the mountain as an adaptive skier. There's just a lack of representation in adaptive skiing.
This week, we're having a real talk about making Colorado's outdoors accessible to all, what some groups are doing to get those with disabilities out on the trails and slopes, and what the state is doing to get more people out to see what Colorado has to offer.
Welcome to Real Talk with Denver7 and CPR News. I'm Denver7's Micah Smith.
And I'm Colorado Public Radio's Nathan Heffel. Each week, in a partnership between Denver7 and CPR, we'll have a real talk about issues impacting underrepresented people across Colorado.
It's a topic we've explored before, and we wanted to dive even deeper because Colorado is a beautiful state that sees visitors from across the world.
Right.
With around 30 ski resorts, nearly 60 14ers, and over 39,000 miles of hiking trails, you can live here for a lifetime and not see everything the state has to offer.
That's right. However, a lot of that terrain is inaccessible to many people for a variety of reasons. For one, people with disabilities can have a hard time hitting the trails and slopes, limitations they have with equipment that's needed to get around, like wheelchairs or crutches.
And these groups want to be treated just like everyone else when they're in nature. And as Denver7's Russell Haythorne learned, critics say one popular ski pass could do more to make its slopes accessible.
Mark Urich
Skis never leave my car, really.
is one of the lucky few who was able to turn his passion into a profession.
This is the rig. I grew up playing whatever, but able-bodied sports. I didn't really know about the Paralympics till I started skiing. I was introduced to skiing in my mid-20s. Now I'm quite proud to be disabled.
He was born with proximal femoral focal deficiency, where the upper part of the thigh bone is either malformed or missing.
They amputated my foot so I could wear the prosthetic when I was 2.
He's now one of the leading adaptive skiers in Colorado, teaching, coaching, and helping others find joy in the sport.
Skiing for a disabled person is, in my opinion, one of the best sports you can do. It's one of the most freeing sports, the one that you can fly. You can be better than able-bodied people, like a lot of able-bodied people, you know?
He finds himself in a battle over accessibility at many of Colorado's premier resorts. While the Epic Pass has a robust adaptive athlete section on its website offering deeply discounted rates with multiple pass options and links to useful, helpful information for adaptive skiers and riders, Icon, on the other hand, offers no discounts, zero. The Epic Pass runs $9.29 a season, and the Adaptive Pass is roughly half that cost at just $4.55 a season. The Icon Pass also $9.29 a season, but again, no discounts for adaptive athletes.
I'm just wondering, what is the reason? Is there something I can clear up from the adaptive side?
As Urich points out, while ski equipment is expensive for anyone, the adaptive gear is even pricier, making accessibility all the more difficult for individuals and families.
It's already hard enough to get to the mountain as an adaptive skier. I just don't understand that little bit of courtesy would just be a nice gesture. What's the hurdle?
We reached out to Alterra Mountain Company, which offers the Icon Pass. They said there is no discount, but many Alterra Mountain Company destinations offer their own adaptive pass options. For Urich, it's a mountain he's willing to continue to climb in an effort to, at the very least, bring awareness to this issue.
Should just fit like so. There's just a lack of representation in adaptive skiing, so why not offer an Icon adaptive pass at a discounted rate?
Russell Haythorne, Denver7.
I think that it's interesting that we bring up costs because when we talk about accessibility, we don't always talk about the costs associated with making any space truly accessible. And so I'm really glad to hear someone speaking out and demanding this level of change. He's right. It's expensive to get the equipment.
Yeah.
It's expensive to even try to get out there. Sometimes these passes are expensive. I think that these companies really need to listen. If you want to be truly inclusive, we throw that word around a lot.
Yeah.
Then you need to make accessibility possible by looking at costs as well.
And I think the fact that if you're thinking just about skiing every day, how expensive it is, and how even in that space there is a lack of diversity, there's a lack of accessibility, and to say, hey, let's make it a little bit more accessible so people can get up to the mountains and really experience what Colorado has to offer. I think that's definitely a thing.
Absolutely, Nathan. And I know we're seeing more of these programs pop up to help with costs at different slopes, but I think that we've got to put more on notice. Listen, if you don't have a program yet, let this be your sign.
That's
Go
right.
ahead,
You know?
implement that program.
Yeah. From cost to equipment, having equitable access can mean different things when it comes to where you're able to go. And one group is getting some help thanks to a Paralympic medalist. Oksana Masters is a U.S. Nordic skier, and she gifted 13 athletes with new adaptive equipment from the Hartford Ski Spectacular.
Yeah, the gear included new prosthetics, adaptive skis, and electric bikes. The group has donated equipment to assist over 45,000 adaptive athletes in just the past 5 years.
Yeah, Masters says her first snow sport experience was 10 years ago in Breckenridge at the Hartford Ski Spectacular. She says her biggest struggle at the start of her career was equipment costs, which can be 15 times more expensive for athletes with disabilities.
I know how hard it was to get into adaptive sports. When you set that bar to go to the international level or achieve a gold medal or get on the podium, you can put in all the hours you can, but you can only get so far without the right equipment.
Well, I have to say this, I'm seeing so many links between this episode and our BIPOC episode where we talked about accessibility in the outdoors, cost definitely a factor. We didn't get to get into that very much in that episode, but I'm glad that we're bringing it up now because again, inclusion, when you're talking about inclusion, you have to consider costs.
Right, that's exactly right. And how more people can have access and should have access to these spaces if they just had that little nudge to say, yeah, it's a little bit cheaper for you to get out there. Don't let that be a barrier to access.
And Nathan, I have to admit, I had an invisible barrier in my own mind when it came to exploring Colorado's outdoors. I've been here now for 5 years. I've had a lot of amazing opportunities to learn how to ski, do a little hiking. I call it walking, just kind of slow because my hiking isn't great. But in my own mind, I put these barriers in place because I said, I don't see other people of color doing this. I don't see people with disabilities doing this. I'm not sure I can do it. And it took a lot of research and it took me seeing all the groups that we highlight on this show to really overcome my own mental and invisible barriers to Colorado's outdoors.
Yeah, and my 6-year-old daughter, she is of color and she also has some neurodivergency issues. And to be able to be like, yeah, you're going to get out skiing. I know you want to do it, and here are the programs we can use to help that along.
It's a beautiful thing.
It is. It is.
Physical limitations are not the only thing keeping some Coloradans from exploring the outdoors.
Coming up, we'll hear from a group that's pushing to make the outdoors accessible for those who are neurodivergent. Stay with us. This is Real Talk with Denver7 and CPR News.
Welcome back to Real Talk with Denver7 and CPR News. I'm Denver7's Micah Smith.
And I'm Colorado Public Radio's Nathan Heffel. This week we're having a real talk about ways Colorado is making the great outdoors accessible to more people.
Yeah, we've already explored efforts like discounted adaptive skiing passes offered at some ski resorts. There are also state parks that provide special equipment for those in wheelchairs to access trails and other parts of nature.
But there are other limitations that keep some from fully enjoying Colorado's great outdoors, like those with autism and other types of neurodiversity.
Yeah. Revel is a Colorado nonprofit that works with neurodivergent people, and while it preaches the importance of getting these folks outdoors, Revel says they often face hidden barriers.
40% of teens and adults on the autism spectrum report having an anxiety disorder. 90% are unemployed or underemployed, and 1 in 4 say they've been completely isolated, meaning they have not seen or spoken to friends in the last year.
For more on this topic, we want to welcome Justin Engels. He's a senior behavior interventionist and community coach from Revel, which is based in Denver. Justin, thanks so much for being here.
You're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Well, to start things off, Justin, give us a quick look at what Revel is, what does the name stand for, and what do you do?
So Revel stands for Real Experiences Vital for Enhancing Life. We kind of create our programming around 5 core areas, which are independent life skills, employment, social relationships, outdoor education, and
There's one more.
one more, always one more. The importance of being that we look at everything. We don't limit what we're looking at to form a program for anybody.
And how did you get involved with this organization?
In 2010, I moved to Aspen, Colorado, and became a ski instructor for kids that were having issues on the slopes, and then transformed into working with kids with autism.
Yeah.
When you started working with kids with autism, what drew you to continue to do this kind of work? What was the exact moment where you thought, this is my purpose I'm stepping into?
I was seeing improvements on a hour by hour, minute by minute basis, from day to day, meeting the parents, the families, and seeing these kids improve within a week of a ski vacation really got me thinking, what could they do with a year? What could they do with constant programming? What could they do with people that were looking at all areas of their life?
And what does that improvement look like?
So for example, some people may come to us never having skied at all. The first day they may be resistant to putting on ski boots or skis. By the second or third day, maybe they're on the ski hill, going down the bunny hill. Maybe they're enjoying socialization on the mountain with others. So improvements can look different for different people.
Yeah.
We talked about a lot of statistics just a little bit ago, and numbers are important, especially when we talk about anxiety, isolation, other limitations. But what can you share about those people, those kids you work with? Have they experienced something like this before they came into contact with Revel? What does that look like?
So our program is for teens and adults with autism, and a lot of them are phasing out of their current programming or growing out of their current programming. So we're looking at things, where do they go? What do we do now? So having them come to Revel provides them a community to grow, to learn, also experiencing things that they've never heard of or tried before.
And one of the things your organization does is hosting a climbing event at Movement Climbing in Golden, is that right?
That's correct.
So tell us about this, and what does it entail, and how is it different in one sense than someone who is not on the autism spectrum?
So climbing is one sport that we focus on, and every other Thursday we take a group of about 15 adults to go climbing. Some of them have climbed before, some of them have never done it at all. So we start with an introduction, and then they each get turns to climb. They have instruction, they have an ability to improve, and if they just are there for the experience, then they can come along for that too, to watch and cheer on their friends.
Yeah, we've got some video playing from one of these events. I do want to ask you, how is this activity helpful for neurodivergent people, especially in a setting like this?
So a lot of us have anxiety around classrooms, around speaking on TV, things like that. So putting them in a challenging situation like rock climbing, where you have to use your senses, you have to use your physical body, and being able to overcome some of those barriers, then when they themselves get to go into the classroom or go back home, they have a feeling of accomplishment, like, wait, I overcame that barrier, I reached that goal, I was able to do that, working through. So using some of those things we use in the outdoors and the sporting world can be then taken back home into the classroom or home.
And what other events does Revel organize for neurodivergent people, especially when we're talking about the outdoors?
So we have 6 ski trips this winter.
Wow.
So they are 3-day long overnight ski trips. So adults with autism have the opportunity to socialize, ski, stay overnight in a lodge, cook each other meals, rent equipment, and do other winter activities. We have started a snowshoeing program. So as the snow flies, which we hope it does, we will be snowshoeing out and about Denver.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's lots of things we take into account. And then in summer, we offer summer camps. So that's boating, whitewater rafting, rock climbing, golf, disc golf, the list goes on and on.
Yeah.
Justin, as we're having this conversation, is there someone that comes to mind that's really impacted you in this space and inspires you to do what you do?
I think every student that I see on a daily basis has some impact on me and my family. And just knowing that whether we made improvement yesterday doesn't mean that we can't make improvement today. So coming every day to work and knowing that I get to see these people and be a part of their wins is so important to me, and that's what drives me and our company.
Now, what about when you're dealing with, let's say, sometimes a stressful situation there? How do you focus on that to say, hey, let's turn that around and make it a positive experience?
So Revel has lots of behavior coaches, which is what I am. We have BCBAs, which is a board certified behavior analyst. So all of our Revelers have a behavior program. So we are prepared ahead of time for standard issues that arise, issues particular to that client. We're prepared ahead of time, and our staff has lots of experience working with adults with autism.
Justin, what do you think people should know about neurodivergent accessibility in the outdoors that they might not know? And I'm talking about stakeholders and decision makers.
I think that if the stakeholders and decision makers could get out to the outdoors and join in one of these activities with us, see this population excel, I think the world would be open to all sorts of new programs like this all over the country, not just in beautiful Colorado.
Yeah. All right. Well, Justin Ingalls, behavior interventionist and community coach for Revel, based here in Denver. Thank you so much for joining us for this Real Talk.
Thank you, guys.
And we're continuing this conversation about making the outdoors more accessible.
Coming up, we'll talk about what the state is doing to make sure everyone has a chance to explore Colorado. Stick with us. This is Real Talk with Denver7 and CPR News. Welcome back to Real Talk with Denver7 and CPR News. I'm Colorado Public Radio's Nathan Heffel.
And I'm Denver7's Micah Smith. The CDC reports over 1 in 4 people in Colorado identify as disabled. That's over 1 million people who have to take to the slopes and trails in a different way than what most people are accustomed to.
Now, the state is doing more to try to make many places easier for Coloradans to explore. Joining us now is Cara Van Hoos from Colorado Parks and Wildlife. Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
So we've heard about the push for more equal and equitable access at some ski slopes. Is this something you've seen when it comes to our state parks?
Absolutely. Yes, Colorado Parks and Wildlife believes that the outdoors are for everyone. There's no one answer to what a state park visitor looks like. And everyone who comes to our parks wants to enjoy the outdoors and the activities that we offer there. So we aim to break down those obstacles that anyone may have.
Karis, tell us a little bit more about that. I know CPW has a few efforts underway to make parks better for people with physical disabilities and those who are neurodivergent.
Sure, we offer a wide range of different accessibility needs and solutions. So our most popular would probably be our track chair program. So this is an accessible wheelchair that you can sit in, and it's operated by joystick or by a volunteer who operates it with a joystick. And you can go up and down the trails on this thing. So it started at Staunton State Park, and they have very popular 5 track chairs available. And I don't know if you've ever been on the trails at Staunton, but they are no joke. You know, there's some elevation there, and there are definitely terrain issues, but these track chairs can handle them. So you get a really great experience sitting and going hiking on these trails. And also at Ridgway State Park, we have an aquatic accessibilities program as well, where we offer floating wheelchairs, paddleboard compatible wheelchairs, and there's a beach mat where people who use wheelchairs can also roll over the sand, go right up to the water, and really enjoy the parks.
And there must be a huge demand for these things. Is there waiting lists, or can someone say, I just want to go out today and get on the trails?
Yeah, you're right. They are very popular, so it's done by reservation system. And whenever we open up those windows, those reservations fill up immediately, which is great to see such demand, but also the need for this community as well.
Yeah.
What's another specific need you've seen when it comes to accessibility in the parks?
Well, cost, right?
Yeah.
It's always money. So it's not only funding for Colorado Parks and Wildlife, but also money for the people who would use these services. And that's why we offer a Columbine Parks Pass, which is a discounted rate of $14 a year for people with disabilities to be able to visit our state parks. And for funding, Colorado Parks and Wildlife has revenue streams like buying a hunting and fishing license, buying your Keep Colorado Wild Pass, and even buying a lottery ticket. Those are all huge for us.
Yeah.
Lottery. I didn't know about that one. That's really interesting.
Yeah. So every time you buy a lottery ticket, a little bit of that goes to
Yes.
parks and
Yes, it's
yeah.
funded through GOCO, which is Great Outdoors Colorado, started by then Governor Hickenlooper, and we do receive revenue from that. So really, if you think you're winning a big jackpot, so are we.
Now, what feedback do you often get from people who are needing to have that special accessibility to the outdoors, positive and negative?
It's mostly positive, really. They're glad that this is an option for them. When people use the track chairs, like I mentioned, the reactions and the comments we hear from them is something that's so special that our park rangers and our volunteers really cherish, because these are people who didn't know if they'd be able to hike, be able to go on this really challenging trail, and now they can. I think it's just, everyone says it's a great thing and we just want more of it, right?
Yeah. You talked about the track chair and a few other innovations. What led CPW to this space where they said, we have to do something? We have to acquire some tools. We have to make sure that our parks are accessible to all. Was there like a pivotal moment or time where this was on the CPW agenda?
I think it's something we've always had our eye on, because the outdoors are for everyone. And when you see people who have family members who have accessibility issues and they have to leave them at home or they have to stay in the car, that's something really heartbreaking. So when technology advances, we want to be on the forefront of that as well, to be able to provide the same experience that anybody else would have.
Yeah, and Colorado's doing some really cool stuff in this realm. Are there other states that you're looking to, or that are looking to you to say, yeah, we want to do this too?
I think we're really a pioneer in this field. Our track chair program has been covered by worldwide media, and that's really sparked other states asking us, how did you do this? How did you get funding for this? How do you create these things? So I'd like to think we're a leader in that field.
Yeah. Okay. Can you give us a sneak peek of any other innovations maybe coming down the pipeline?
Yes, this year we partnered with an app called AIRA, that's AIRA, which provides park services for the visually impaired. So it helps interpret information that may be around in our parks or park offices for those people who need it in a more digestible way.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really interesting.
Yeah.
Can't wait to see that in
And the
action.
app is coming out soon, is that what you're saying?
The app is available now.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Yeah.
Beautiful. All right. Well, we'll have to dive deeper into that soon.
One more quick question about, for example, someone who may be listening or watching saying, I want to donate a chair, I want to donate one of these things. Is that something that you do or can work with them to do that?
Sure, they can get involved with our Friends programs. So each state park has a Friends of State Park, so Friends of Staunton. So if they wanted to get involved there, they can become a volunteer through CPW, they can give funding as well, and we always need people to help operate track chairs or really provide more access at state parks.
All right, Caravan Hoos with Colorado Parks and Wildlife, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And that's this week's episode of Real Talk with Denver7 and CPR News. And every week we'll be having a real talk on issues that impact Coloradans who are often overlooked.
You can find all of our shows on denver7.com/realtalk or at cpr.org/realtalk. Have a great day.